What's up everybody? So a couple weeks ago I did a video on flat earthers, who I in general consider to be the basis for measuring stupidity. After uploading the video I realized I'd unintentionally kicked the hornet's nest and then jumped on top of it, shirtless. I got 200 comments, some in support, some in anger, and almost all of them were arguing. It was exhausting and I realized that the point of what I was trying to get across had been completely misread by these people. And considering the group I'm setting my eyes on to kick and jump on next is a group I generally consider to be more intelligent than flat earthers, I feel like a warning is warranted. So here goes. Incels. I am not trying to personally attack you. If you feel righteous in your beliefs, then I'd say it's safe to say I cannot change your mind. I think your ideas are ridiculous, but I believe people should be allowed to believe ridiculous things, including that The Last Jedi was a good Star Wars movie. But I'm not trying to piss you off. If you disagreed with me, please leave a comment below. Communication and entertainment is my goal here. Now, without further ado, this is Hot Garbage, and I am your host, Killer Keemstar. Fuck, I need to stop doing that. So, what is an incel? An incel is very simply an involuntary celibate, except none of that is simple. We're dealing with high intellect people here, pro Rick and Morty fans. Incels make everything needlessly complicated. You see, it's not just being an involuntary celibate. If it was, there'd be a lot more of them, and they'd probably not be as much of a circle-jerking echo chamber of a community. There's two main things incels believe, which is what really separates an incel from someone who just hasn't had sex. The first being that they believe the only thing that matters is looks. The second is something they call the black pill. An incel's primary belief is that only looks matter, and while I think we can all agree that on some level looks do matter, looks can also be very subjective, and they often are. There are things that are universally attractive, like Ryan Reynolds, and Nutella at a discounted price, and then there's all that other shit that we ourselves personally find attractive. For some people, how someone looks is the biggest reason for maintaining a relationship, while for most, it's personality that's the biggest contributor. Personality doesn't mean you're identical, it just means, you need to have more depth than a fucking puddle. When you first date someone, naturally, looks are going to matter initially, but a long-lasting relationship won't survive based on looks alone. It's not rocket science, it's not even fucking science, it's just common sense. And if it looks like it does survive solely based on a mutual respect for ass, I guarantee you there's shit going on you aren't even aware of. Obviously, there are exceptions to this, like Jeremy Meeks, the man so attractive that he goes to jail for attacking a kid only to get bailed out and becomes rich because of his mugshot, but I mean, we all know his life is gonna get real sad once he's older and doesn't look like an Adonis. Their second main belief is the black pill. It's to incels what red-pilled and woke is to conservative and liberals respectively. Proof you're a true member of the group. And for incels, the black pill is just teenage angst and nihilism. They accept that they're destined for failure, to lose, that the world is against them, and any attempt to avert their forever celibacy is useless. Ironically, at this point, incels are no longer technically incels since they're actively working against themselves instead of their perception that it's society's fault. Incels truly are the dark souls of people. Another common thing in incels is that they are almost always misogynists of varying degrees. There are some that genuinely are unable to date beyond issues that aren't their own, such as not being able-bodied, but with the exception of those people, who I don't really consider to be incels since the word has taken on such a completely different meaning now, incels really don't like women, and their misogyny affects them a fair deal more than any possible lack of a jawline could. Now listen, I'm not trying to take the point of a social justice warrior or anything like that by screaming misogyny. All I'm saying is that maybe viewing women as nothing more than literal sex objects that you don't think is possibly, just possibly detrimental to your dating life. Then again, what the fuck do I know? I'm just a Christian YouTuber that respects women. Anyway, incels are normally unaware they are misogynists. This applies more to nice guys, aka proto-incels, more than incels themselves, since by the time they're fully invested in their dark souls, life on hardcore mode mindset, woman and demon is synonymous to them. And I can't imagine they're still wholly unaware it's off-putting to all the decent people around them. A nice guy gets turned down a lot, and told he's nice, but X, Y, or Z. The nice guy then, logically, of course, takes that to mean he looks like Shrek and that this fair maiden is looking for Prince Charming. Not that being nice isn't the only requirement for dating someone, or that if she said that, chances are it's probably not because he's nice, it's because he's nice. I'm not gonna send someone for misreading people. That's hard, and mistakes happen, and plenty of people are able to understand what they did wrong and mature out of it into normal, decent people. But some don't, and they become incels. It's like a really sad, fucked up Pokemon evolution. Now, as I said earlier, there's a percentage of incels that legitimately can't do anything to change their situation, and their involuntary celibacy due to physical limitation. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that are realistically not that bad looking, and that if they got a haircut and worked on their personality and biases, they could live their sex-filled life if they want. Because whether they admit it or not, that's what they want. What most of them really want is to be the Chad they so despise. They want the Chad to fail, but if they were given a video game customization screen for their life, they'd model it after the Chad. They wouldn't choose to be lonely, bitter, and to hate women. No one would choose that. But it's not easy for a lot of people to blame themselves, and that's not unique to incels. It's in every possible conspiracy theory and political ideology you can think of. The vast majority of people just don't want to admit that they can be causing a problem they themselves actually want to fix. And while there are different levels to what makes an incel, like I said, there are also different types of incels within the groupings of those that blame it on everyone else. They all say they're incels, but barely any agree on the same thing. Some of them support and commend the vile actions of maniacs like Alec Manessian or Elliot Rodger, while others say Elliot wasn't an actual incel because he was too attractive by incel standards. Meanwhile, other incels just use the word to describe their situation and don't follow the radical doctrine that has gotten their websites and subreddits banned time and time again. If I wanted to help those extreme people, I'd say something along the lines of, be kinder, get out there, hold back your biases, and start hoping, believing, and looking for the best in people instead of the worst. Also, maybe, just maybe, lower your standards a bit from Amelia Clark to an average-looking normal person, but instead, I'm gonna give you a little inside look at the insanity of incels, which is more detached from reality than every movie Adam Sandler has ever made. Seriously, Adam Sandler movies suck. Objectively, they are the worst movies. I wanted a lobotomy after Waterboy and Pixels. The more I read, the more it becomes evident what plagues an incel's thought process. A bigger bias than them thinking every woman is a hive mind programmed cheating machine. Instead, they view everything from a really fucked up version of a survivor's bias. Now you're probably wondering, I didn't know what an incel was to start with. What the hell is survivor's bias? The easiest example is all the celebrities that drop out of high school and make it big. They tell you that you don't need to complete high school to lead a good life and that you just have to try, and sure, it worked for them and plenty of others, but it also didn't for hundreds of thousands. Incels view every bully they were in school with that's now dating as empirical evidence women don't care about personality or anything other than the numbers of abs a man has. And they ignore all the other assholes that bullied him during school and went on to lead fruitless lives. They only look for those who, from their perspective, triumphed. They only look for the woman who was beat up by her husband rather than the majority who weren't. They look for the women who cheated all the time rather than the ones who stayed in faithful relationships like most normal, decent people. Or, like I said, how all the people they despised in high school have now succeeded. They never look at the decent people they knew who aren't the living embodiment of testosterone, who have good lives and children and wives and they love each other. Instead, they just ignore it all. They cherry pick what they want and they throw away that doesn't fit. It's not exactly a perfect example of survivor's bias, but it's the closest example I can use because both ignore hundreds of thousands of exceptions to what they view to be solid proof that they are righteous. The same thing also applies to flat earthers, to a lesser extent, since they ignored all the actual evidence, but I'm not going near those people again. They're legitimately delusional. Fuck that. So, to kind of draw it all back into something meaningful, incels in most cases are stuck in a perpetual loop. They want women, but they hate them. They hate men that are with women. They think all the people they hate succeeded and ignore the decent ones that succeeded and the ones they hated that went on to fail in life. And then they hate the women for being in love with them and then back to hating those same men. It's a vicious cycle and it starts for almost all of them in high school by getting turned down. They're told they're not nice, but XYZ, and they take that to mean they look bad, while in many cases it's because when you're clingy, awkward, or already walking down the road of believing women to be inferior, people can tell, and if you don't self-correct from that course, you're gonna be a bit fucked up leading past that point. It's complex, and I don't hate incels like I hate flat earthers. More than anything, I feel a mixture of pity and terror and just complete shock. Some are in situations they can't avoid or get out of, while most think their physicality has put them into a life of loneliness and ignore how toxic their personality has become. And then you have the radical incels, the ones like Alec Manassian or Elliot Rodger, and the others who don't commit violent acts in the name of incels, but think about it or justify rape and other heinous crimes when they daydream about things to take power back in their warped perspective of how things work. They justify all this under the pretense that as men they're entitled to what the Chad has, on the simple merit that they too have a dick. So yeah, that's it. I don't really like the incel ideology, and I hope you learned something. If you are an incel and I pissed you off, please comment how you felt, as I'd be more than happy to discuss this with you. And remember, I'm not saying every incel believes all this shit. Just from what I've read and seen, most of them do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and comment what you thought of it and what stuff you'd like to see me talk about next. Make sure to subscribe to see more content like this in the future, and hit that bell icon to turn notifications. I also just launched a merch store, so check that out if you want. I recommend the premium tee option. It's really comfortable. We got hot garbage shirts and plenty of other merch ranging from hoodies to mugs and stickers. The link for that and everything else is in the description below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. If you'd like to have your art featured in a video, draw me or one of my wondrous characters, such as the majestic Chad the Sad, and tweet it at Tahukan TV on Twitter. Huge thank you to Patreon supporters Anonymous and Matt Porter. I really appreciate it.